We are going to jump right into this 20-minute mobility practice for the ovulatory phase. We're going to start in a kneeling position in about 30 seconds, and we have no repeats in this exercise practice, in this movement practice. We're doing 20 different exercises to support kind of opening and awakening the entire body in a very gentle way. So come to a kneeling position. We're going to start with cat and cow from this position, so slightly different than what we normally do. And if this is uncomfortable at all, too much flexion in the knees, you can always come into a simple cross-legged position, or you can be working from a chair. So we'll go in 3, 2, 1. Take your hands behind your head, press your head into your hands, and then lift up through the heart as you inhale, open the chest. And on the exhale, curl in through the belly, round in, bring your elbows toward each other, chin to chest. Inhale, open, so we're alternating between these two expressions in the spine, and exhale, round. So we inhale, expand, lift up, open out, and then we reverse it. So we feel that gravity pull us inward, elbows hug in, chin to chest. See if you can start to articulate bone by bone. So you start to feel more space, kind of more individuality between the bones of the spine. It's so beautiful how it can move on its own. We'll be here just 5 more seconds. Exhale, round in. And the next time that you come upright, start to reach your arms out. So these are continuous intervals. We're just going one into the other. Here, I want you to take the arms in opposite directions. So one thumb points back, and then one thumb points up and back. So we rotate in and out, just alternating internal and external rotation in the shoulders. And the key here is to keep your spine nice and still. So we really want to focus on rotating the upper arm bone inside that joint, that beautiful ball and socket joint that gives us so much access to movement, to range of movement. So here we're just kind of carving out that access, that range in the shoulders. You might start to hear some little crunches, maybe things breaking up, getting looser. We've got this for 5 more seconds. Again, we're here for just a minute each. And then as you're ready, bring your hands out in front of you, palms facing up like you're holding a tray, elbows in by your sides. As you inhale, you're going to take the arms out wide as far as they'll go, like you're trying to touch the wall behind you with your thumbs. Keep that rotation, reach the arms up, touch the palms overhead. Bring them back down, hug the elbows in, rotate, and we continue in this way. So this is our new movement pattern for the next minute or so. This type of movement in the ovulatory phase, for me as of late, has been so soothing. In the last 3 cycles or so, I've found that ovulation has been very challenging. The high estrogen has been hitting me with feeling a bit overwhelmed and kind of trending toward anxiety. So that arousal energy manifesting as kind of nervousness or just inability to focus. So these practices, these slow, fluid practices that connect us to the breath can be very helpful, very grounding during that arousal energy time. We're going to switch now to cat and cow, and this time we're going to turn the fingers to face the knees. So getting a bit of stretch in the forearms. This can be so nice if you've been lifting weights or if you work at a desk on a computer. Inhale, soften your belly, gaze up, shine the sitting bones back. And then as you exhale, round in, curl the spine, press through the heels of the hands. Inhale, try to keep the shoulders over the wrists. Press through all 10 finger pads evenly, and then round, coil in. Again here, see if you can split and articulate the bones of the spine one by one, and really start to notice how the rib cage can move independently from the hips. So part of what produces pain or discomfort, particularly in the low spine, can be that stuckness where the ribs and the hips want to always move together. So here we get to kind of let them do their own thing independently. We're coming up to full kneeling position now for camel reaches. I want you to tuck your toes under so that your heels are slightly elevated. And as you're ready, you're going to take one hand down to a heel, reach the opposite arm out of the heart, straight back. Come back through center and switch. We reach that arm back. And again, this need not be your deepest back bend. We're simply trying to awaken the front line of the body. We're trying to enliven the rivers of the spine to support this movement. So we're lifting up and out of the hips, stretching the heart up skyward. And again, here we're already putting that great shoulder mobility to use, taking the arm overhead. A lot of times there's a stuck point, and so we're trying to work through that here. Breathing all the way through and come down. Now we're going to move into Shin box. So we start with the feet up, and you can simply windshield wiper the knees here with the support of the hands if that's best for you. If you want a little bit more mobility challenge, you come into this movement hands free. So you're keeping the hands up and relying on the mobility in the hips. The next progression would be to lift onto the shins on either side. So you're using that hip mobility to navigate the space and to make that transition happen. And then you come up. So it requires a lot of strength, but also a lot of flexibility to come through without using the hands and to rely on the strength and stability of the pelvis. So we're working internal and external rotation together here. 2, 1. From here, we'll come back through center. We're going to lift up into a deep squat. So your deepest squat, maybe your heels are down, maybe they aren't. Don't sweat it either way. And here you can keep your hands on the floor for support. We're going to squat down and then pivot on one foot, take the knee in, come back down through the squat and switch. We'll take a little posture break in between to come all the way to stand. So we come down, internal rotation, knee tap, come down and back up. Here, if you want to add challenge, again, you come in hands free, where you're moving through this range of motion, this internal rotation, using only the hips. Breathing through. So these should feel pretty manageable, the effort, the exertion, so that you're not breathless. It's very sustainable. And rest. We are coming into our hip hinge with a swimmer. And this looks like standing with the legs hips width distance apart. We reach forward. And as you come up, take opposite elbows at the low back. Reach forward and take the elbows behind. Forgot that the first time. Reach out and elbows behind you on the way up. So we hip hinge, lat pull down, reach and come up. Here, focus on shifting the weight forward into the ball mounds of the feet. So you're really getting that full hip hinge motion and then extending as you come up. Try to engage the muscles in the back of the heart, the upper back, in that lat pull down without crunching the elbows behind you. So without excessive force, instead it's this integrated activation of the muscles. We'll switch in 3, 2, 1. We're coming now to our spider lunge. So one foot comes forward, one foot back. We open with the same side arm. Take that elbow deep to the inner edge of the foot. Come back and switch through downward dog. We switch legs here, reach it open, try to keep the hips square. Knee comes to the inner edge of the foot, open and back out. So again, we're working the inner thighs, the inner hips, the groin here. Elbow comes down, up and back through center to exchange. Here we're leveraging the rotation in the upper back. So with the hips stable and square, you have to create the rotation in the back of the heart, the thoracic spine, this area that can be really hard to access. We're changing in 5 more seconds here, just enough to get one more on this side. And switch. This time bring your knees down. We're coming out into frog position. Turn the toes so that the ankles are bent 90 degrees. So we've got 90, 90 in the joints. And then slide the hips back as far as they'll go. So we want to avoid rocking too far forward. Come onto the forearms here. This is a frog stretch. You might stay here. This is probably pretty intense. But if you want a little bit more, you want to work on that active internal rotation, start to lift just slightly, one heel at a time off the mat. So you're here rotating. It doesn't take much to really feel this one. You don't have to be lifting your heel very high off the mat. So we're alternating sides here. This is active internal rotation. So it's a range of motion that can be a little bit challenging to set up. It requires a unique body position. We're coming up now into supported side plank. So drop one hip down, extend the bottom leg out, step your top foot down in front. You want your hand slightly ahead of your shoulder so that as you come up, sweep the top arm overhead. You want the 90-degree angle between your body and your arm. And then lower down. As you lower down, slight shrug in that bottom shoulder to stretch the side waist. Find this big, beautiful arc in the body here. So the spine gives us so much access to strong shapes that exist in nature, like this arch. It's a powerful shape. And a lot of times it goes unused in day-to-day life. We stay kind of in the sagittal plane, but instead here we're opening the side channels of the body. We're here for just 3, 2, and 1. Now we're coming into a dragon sit. So this one, again, pretty challenging. You're going to bend that bottom knee underneath you and come to a seat. Front foot stays on the mat. You can either be hands-free or using your hand to support, but we're transitioning from that cross-legged position through to stand. And then take the opposite leg behind you, lower to kneeling, all the way to a seat. So again, this might feel a little bit awkward. It might feel a little bit clumsy at first. Just work through the different range of motion and use your hands as you need. So in the beginning, if you're new to mobility work, sometimes it doesn't feel smooth or it doesn't feel as fluid, and that's okay. It's really just showing you areas where you might have opportunity for more mobility. So it's kind of shining a light on those areas to tell you where you need access that you might not even know that you needed. So we're coming down now to the other side, supported side plank. Bottom leg extends, top leg forward. We reach that top arm up and over. Come down with breath, inhale, and exhale, press it up. So feeling the outer hip stretch here as we awaken the side channels of the spine. So again, mobility work can just kind of show us things we might not know are happening. So it might show us where we have impingement or where we have kind of limited range of motion in different joints. So it's a great way to kind of revisit these practices often, to just have some insight, to gather information. We're here for just 5 more seconds, and then we're coming into alternating staggered squats. So slowly come back through that dragon sit to rise up to stand. Our staggered squat, similar to the dragon sit, but we're keeping the back toes on the ball of the foot. So it's a staggered squat here. Step up through center, staggered squat. It's almost like a curtsy, but you're really just coming into that squat position with the legs split. This one, great for knee and ankle mobility. Really try to keep the chest elevated here. And continue breathing. We are here in this movement pattern for about 20 more seconds. Take it nice and slow so that you can really feel the different parts of the motion in the joints. This one's also good for kind of opening the feet, the soles of the feet. Last 3, 2, and 1. This time, come up through center, take your feet nice and wide. We're going to slowly lower into a wide forward fold. Shift the weight into the ball mounds of your feet. Take one hand on the mat, opposite hand behind the head, and then without moving the hips, rotate that elbow open. So again, we're kind of working into the upper back switch. Rotate the elbow open without letting the hips come along for the ride. You might feel that with that slightly different arm position, it requires a lot more mobility in the upper back, this hard to reach area that tends to get a little bit closed off. Breathing for 15 more seconds in this movement pattern. One more time. And then we're switching to a lateral lunge. So you can stay in this position. We're simply going to alternate sides in a lateral lunge. So find this really deep, juicy lunge here, crawling the fingertips over side to side. If you want a little bit of extra challenge, you can come into a full Cossack squat where you're working on ankle mobility and the straight leg toes turn up. Even more challenge still, you go hands free, side to side, staying nice and low in that Cossack squat. So this one working not only the strength in the inner thighs and the groin, but creating a lot of length across the inseam of the leg. And this need not be quick. Take your time. Stay nice and fluid, almost as if you're moving through water so that you can, again, identify those little stuck points that we might just glaze over or push through in quicker movements. Last 2 and 1. Come onto your back now, onto your side, into the fetal position. So knees are bent. And then take your hands together so you have the palms together, and we're simply going to open into a supine twist and close. So we open here and close. Create a little bit of activity or activation in the inner thighs, so squeezing the inner knees together to keep your legs heavy so that they try not to pop up as you twist. We'll take one more like this, and then we'll hold for the remainder of this interval. Hold here, enjoy the supine twist. See if you can stack the hips one on top of the other and really anchor both shoulders to the mat. Breathe into the twist so you feel that kind of resistance due to the body position here. And breathe. Our next interval, we're coming into a glute bridge, and we're going to simply reach with opposite arms. So we lift up the hips, and then we reach across the body to the opposite corner. Come down, lift, and reach. So we're here working on kind of the rotational component, but this time in more of the lumbar spine, kind of the lower bones of the spine around the sacrum. And also working the shoulder mobility. Keep your head nice and relaxed. So resting on the mat. And follow the fingertips with your gaze. And again, this need not be kind of your fullest glute bridge. You don't need to be kind of at that maximum range. We're simply looking for mobility, for healthy movement. And switch. So now we're coming into the other side of our supine twist. So palms touch each other, rest your head down on the mat, knees and hips are stacked, and we're simply going to open and close. Here we open and close. You can move the head and kind of work the cervical spine as well, so that you're getting that little bit of massage to the bones of the spine in the neck. We'll take 2 more like this, and then we'll hold for the remainder of the interval in that lovely supine twist. So as you're ready, letting the shoulders get really heavy. Try to resist that motion with some activation between the inner thighs. So squeezing the inner thighs together. Maybe softening the gaze, deep belly breaths against that resistance. And come back now through center, back to our glute bridge. This time we are going to be adding a circle with the arms. So start with the arms down by your sides, lift it up, take the arms overhead, and then sweep the arms all the way around. Take them back up and overhead, and then back down. See if you can marry the hips and the arms so that they move at the same rate, and then map that onto the rhythm of your breath. So we inhale, exhale, take it around, inhale, back overhead, and exhale back to the earth. Inhale, reach it up, exhale, take it down. Inhale, sweep, and return. We'll have a few more reps like this, reaching up, really press through the heels without arching the back, the lower back, and all the way down. Windshield wiper your knees side to side here just for a moment. And then hug your knees into your chest. Give yourself a big squeeze, a big hug, and slowly roll up to a comfortable seated position. That is our mobility practice for today. This is one that's great to stack with some of the other shorter workouts that are available in the Lune roadmap. So maybe you're using one of the more high energy kind of short bursts for the ovulatory phase, and then you're pairing it with this mobility practice to get that work to complement kind of the more intense higher exertion efforts in the ovulatory phase. So however you choose to use it, I want to thank you for showing up, for giving your body some love, and for letting your body be moved.